Hey everybody, before we get started on this month's episode, we just wanted to give you a quick note on what you're about to hear. This was our first recording session for Streaming Screams, our pilot episode if you will, and like every pilot episode, things are a little different. We were starting off from scratch with no idea what our podcast dynamic was going to be. We were also recording in a different location with different gear and all that kind of thing. So, this episode is probably going to hit a bit different. And that's it. We just wanted to give you a heads up. Now that little PSA is out of the way, enjoy the show. We say that every weekend.
Yeah.
I should have got up earlier.
Well, I don't really like doing much on Sundays. Sundays, I'm like, this is my lazy day.
Generally, same here.
Yeah.
Or I try to make Sunday my lazy day, and then I fill it up with bullshit anyway.
I try to make sure I never put on pants on Sunday, so today I have failed.
Yeah. Yes. She is indeed wearing pants. Oh, right. Is this thing on? This is our fourth try? Something. Actually recording this. So I already made the joke about starting this with the most cliched thing possible, and now we've done it again.
All right.
That's the kind of highbrow, well-thought-out humor you can expect from the Streaming Screams podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Jess, and this is Glenn.
Oh, God, that's even more obnoxious in person. Okay, we're going to be doing 2 movies today. Wait, did you want to explain the concept of the podcast?
Oh, I mean, we're just figuring things out here, and we're gonna be watching some horror movies that are streaming somewhere. Tell you about it and talk about it.
Yeah, that about sums it up. So, a little bit about your hosts. I am Glenn, and that was Jessica. We are besties, and we both really like horror. So we thought it'd be fun to watch horror and then record ourselves talking about it instead of just watching it and then talking about it and not being able to monetize that. Because this is our ticket to stardom, riches, fame.
Because there is no
competition. There will never be any competition for us here. I don't know why I didn't think of this so many years ago instead of being a musician, which for our millions of fans listening at home, I am a musician. What's wrong?
It just comes out really slow.
There's a straw.
I know.
No, but I mean there's a straw that goes all the way down.
I understand that. I understand how a water bottle works. I'm just saying it comes out slow.
Right, because you're supposed to suck it, not tilt it back. Welcome to Glenn Mansplains drinking water to Jessica.
It's still slow.
Yeah,
It's like a sippy cup water bottle.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that water bottle. The reason I gave it to you was because the other one makes a lot of clanking noises. And I was like, this will be much less obtrusive into the podcast recording. And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. So we're going to need to cut all of this so that we can discuss.
Cut that.
I fucking love that they leave all that shit in there. Just cut that. Like, I wonder if they actually do cut anything out, you know?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Although any editor worth anything would make it sound like they don't.
Sure.
So I guess we'll find out about my editing skills here very soon.
Yeah.
So we are going to be discussing 2 movies today. And that will probably be the format going forward. I don't know. Everything about this might change in the next...
Figuring it out.
Yeah, figuring it out as we go along. The first movie we're going to be discussing is a film by the name of The Night House. And that is directed by David Bruckner, who I think I'm really going to like that guy.
Yeah, because I think this is his first movie or second movie.
I think he's done a couple of things, but the 2 things that he did that I know of are this movie, and then he did my favorite segment from Southbound. And
yeah, but I think this is his first full length.
I think this might be his first full-length movie, but I love that movie Southbound, and he did the hospital segment, which is like my favorite part. So I'm very excited to see what else he does. I guess we should discuss the general plot of The Night House.
Oh, he did The Ritual also?
Oh, yes. Yes, he did do The Ritual.
I like that movie.
It's a good one. Also, now I totally...
He also did The Signal? Is that... No, this is filmographer, not director. Yeah, he was the director of The Signal. I really like that movie.
Yeah. This guy's good. I like everything I've seen from him so far, apparently. I forgot that he did The Ritual, and that was a very creepy, well-done movie.
Yeah.
I can't really remember The Signal. Which one was that?
I don't know if you've seen it.
Well, it's been a long time since whether we've seen a movie or not depended on whether we saw it together.
The Signal is like a zombie movie, and it has like 3 acts, and I think each act is directed by a different director, because there's like each act is totally different, and there's a signal on TV that's like buzzing, and it makes people basically become
I think I
zombies.
have seen that. And was somebody hunting for an antenna in it or something like that?
No.
Or the source of the signal?
I mean, maybe. It's been a while since I saw it. There's a segment in the middle where there's like a talking head, and it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Let's put that one on the list.
Okay.
I also want to watch Southbound and discuss it here, because I fucking love that stupid movie.
Cool.
It's so good. So, The Night House starts with a woman coming home from her husband's funeral. So you know it's going to be a cheery affair. The bulk of the movie is that she's going through her husband's things and finds out that he has a dark secret. And then she has to try to unravel that secret. In the meantime, weird things are happening around her in her house. She's not really sure. And honestly, the audience isn't necessarily sure what is real and what isn't, because there's a lot of blending between dream sequences and everything else. It's creepy and depressing and beautiful and very well done. I think that's the basic summary.
Yeah. Synopsis.
What did you think of the movie?
I liked it. This is my second time seeing it. And the movie just came out in 2020, so it's a 2021? Yeah, I think it came out last year.
I think it came out in 2021.
Yeah. It's one of the better movies to come out now. Though I feel like I say that a lot. I'm a fan of current horror at the moment. But yeah, they do a really good job of like dread. There's also some slight humor in it that's awesome.
Yeah, the humor I think is very well done and well timed.
Yeah.
Because it's not just throwaway bullshit. It does serve the characters and the plot well.
Yeah.
And it's not overdone and it's not over silly.
Yeah.
It's the actual type of humor that somebody who is really angry at, spoiler alert. I guess we should just go ahead and do spoilers from here out. It's the type of humor that somebody who's really angry that somebody they loved killed themselves would probably produce.
Yeah.
It's cathartic.
Well, most of the humor revolves around the stupidity of others and what they say around someone who's going through grief and that their husband just killed themselves and how they expect them to react.
Well, so I guess here's the part where we get into the really cheery part of the podcast, the part where I start talking about grief.
Well, also the teacher thing's funny.
Yes, the teacher thing's funny, and we will definitely come to that in a second. Since you mentioned the issue of people being terrible at dealing with other people's grief, I won't get into too many details, but I've gone through a lot of heavy grief. I will tell you that I absolutely loved that part of the movie because people say the stupidest things to you. Yeah. And they always mean well, but there's half the time they're trying to just say something nice to get away from you so that they don't feel bad about themselves or whatever. Yeah. Or they're trying to be entirely too invasive and like they really want to help you, but they don't actually get what you're going through at all. And I hope this decreases as I get older and people around me have been through more of it.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. People are always dumb. It's just bonkers how insensitive people can be when they're trying to be helpful. You've heard me talk about this before, but the thing that I really fucking hate that people say all the time is, well, they're in a better place now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you say that to somebody? Why is that comforting to somebody?
Yeah.
You know? First off, you don't, unless you're saying that to somebody directly at church, you don't necessarily know that they think that.
Right.
You know? And I sure don't. So like, oh, your friend or parent or lover or whatever is in a better place now. Well, you know, that's like nowhere.
Yeah.
So thanks. And also, is there really a better place for my loved one to be than having a drink with me?
Yeah.
There fucking isn't. So stop saying that to people. It's not helpful.
Yeah.
You sound like a dick, and everybody says that shit.
Yeah.
That is my spiel about telling people that their loved one is in a better place. They're fucking not.
Also, let people go through grief make dark jokes. Like, because there's also a scene in the movie where somebody quotes something from
It's the
play.
it's the suicide soliloquy from King Lear, Hamlet.
Oh, yeah. I don't know
Some Shakespeare thing. I don't know, man. A lot of Shakespeare.
But she makes a joke about it and about suicide, and everyone's just like, you can't make those jokes. And it's like, fucking yes, I can. I'm the one going through this. I can make whatever goddamn jokes I want.
Yeah, and that's another thing that drives me nuts when you're going through grief is like you end up responsible for everybody else's fucking feelings.
Yeah.
You have to be gracious when they're trying to help, even though, like I just rambled on about, they're saying something stupid and hurtful on accident. And God forbid you try to throw a little levity into your situation and have a dark joke.
Yeah.
Then everybody's like, oh, you can't say that. You know, there was one time I called into work after, well, I guess I'm going to get into a little detail here. I called into work after a friend of mine died very suddenly, and I was on my way to work when I got the call, and I had to pull over and call the place and be like, yeah, I'm not coming in. And so the person that I'm talking to, I'm like, I can't come in. My friend just died. And they're like, oh, don't say that they died. Say they passed away. I'm like,
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
excuse me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to offend your delicate sensibilities with the emotions that I'm feeling 5 minutes after being informed of a really horrible death.
Yeah.
So, you know, to that lady, if you are listening to this, the operator at Target in like 2002, eat a dick.
Yeah.
People fucking suck about that shit.
Well, I was going to say, too, interestingly, since if we're going into spoilers, talking about how, like, oh, they're in a better place and you don't believe that there's anything there. I mean, the whole plot of this movie is basically sums up that there's nothing.
Yeah.
So there's the whole protagonist or antagonist in this is like the emptiness of her husband not being there. And she thinks that emptiness is her husband. But then it turns out, no, it's just nothing.
Which is one of the best ways to describe grief possible.
And nothing is embodied. And even when she asks where her husband is, it's like, oh, no, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's no longer here. Like that emptiness you keep feeling, that presence you keep feeling that you think is him is just the nothing.
Yeah. And I love that line where she's like, where's Owen? And he goes, he's gone.
Yeah.
But you already knew that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That line just sent chills down my spine, man. Not even in like the creepy way, just in the like, that's so fucking spot on.
Well, and then also like the fact that she died when she was younger, and the whole thing is that the nothingness has like been after her this whole time.
Right. Which, I mean, if you know that there's nothing after death, it kind of is.
Yeah.
You know, the personification of nothing to describe the inevitability of death and the like hollow misery of grief is so good and appropriate and well done. And it's one of those things where somehow, since the last and worst tragedy I've been through, you and I have managed to just accidentally see a million movies that are just about grief.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't think I ever saw that many horror movies based on grief.
I also think a lot have been
then.
coming out lately.
True.
'Cause, yeah, even like Hereditary, people are like, that's just grief porn.
But it's really accurate grief porn.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because a lot of people complain about newer horror movies is that some people say they're not horror. They're more just, again, like tragedy porn. I disagree, but I mean, I can see how people feel that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, this movie, though very much about grief, there also is other things going on, because that's another thing, is just like how much of this narrative is supposed to actually be happening, or her just dealing with things. Because we do find out not only did her husband kill herself, but he's apparently a serial murderer.
Yeah.
And he built another house exactly like their house.
But in reverse.
Yeah.
To trap and confuse spirits.
Because the nothing has been after her.
Yeah.
And has gone through him to try to convince him to kill her. So instead, he's killing people that look like her to confuse the emptiness. Which that's where I'm like, okay, are we supposed to be taking this seriously, or is this just her dealing with the fact?
I mean, she spends the entire movie drunk. And, you know, and to various degrees of functioning while drunk.
Yeah. I also think it's fucked up how everyone keeps telling her to stop looking into her husband's past, when she's like, well, there's women on his phone and there's this other house, and they're like, yeah, just don't look into it. I'm like, how could you just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna ignore this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna move on with my life.
These aren't normal things I would expect to find if my wife died.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, no, I doubt that I would be going through. Actually, no, I would go through her phone, because I'd be looking for like photographs and shit.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think that's
You
weird.
don't expect to find shady shit. She didn't either. She was just, looking at pictures.
Yeah. Also, very like poor planning on the husband's part, not deleting those pictures.
True. Maybe he wanted her to know.
Maybe. I mean, the whole thing could just be in her head.
Yeah.
And I saw an interview with the actress who plays the other woman that she talks to.
Oh, yeah.
Madeline, played by Stacey Martin. Mm-hmm. And she said that Bruckner did tell her, your character might not even be real. And so...
Oh, okay.
So that affected how she played it. And the director himself isn't actually sure how much is real and how much isn't.
Right.
He has said that the script kept a lot of secrets from him, mm-hmm. and he liked that and didn't go digging into them.
Yeah.
So
not everything needs an answer.
Yeah. And I like that not only did he not provide us with those answers, but I mean, him and the writer, Ben Collins and Luke Piotrowski. I'm going to butcher that name, and I'm going to feel really bad about it. And our millions of fans are going to correct me in the comments.
So many fans.
Just the army of streaming screamers, man. They're just going to be so mad at me for butchering that name. And then they're going to get mad at him for having a name that I couldn't pronounce. And they're going to demand he changed it. They're just going to, it's gonna be like the Beehive, or
these directors and writers are beholden to the random assholes talking about their movies.
That's right. It's about time somebody understood this. You've mentioned it a couple of times, but another thing that I found really fun and fascinating in the movie was the critiques of the educational system, and how we treat our teachers.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that doesn't actually take up a lot of time in the movie. It's really small things, but they're so fucking poignant.
Yeah.
And they're not hidden at all. There's my favorite is when there's like a conference with all the teachers, and the principal or the superintendent or some authority figure is showing them a graph, and she's talking about how like this line represents when performance started dropping, and she goes, and what happened? And one of the teachers immediately says, classroom sizes, and she goes, true, but we can't play the blame game. Well, eat a dick.
Yeah.
That's the fucking problem. Like we can't be having our teachers teaching 40 kids at once and expect things to go well.
Right.
That's ridiculous. That and then one of the very funny scenes that we were alluding to earlier, the parent comes in to yell at the teacher.
Yeah.
Or to yell at our
she
main
wants
character.
to know why he got a C or a D.
Yeah, it was just a C.
Yeah.
The
She was trying to, like, the mom's like, well, he missed an assignment and you said he could make it up. And she's like, yeah, but he didn't. And she's like, well, he came in on Thursday and you weren't here. And she's
it
like,
was the last day.
yeah, she's like, that's the last day of school. Right, but you weren't here. So, and then she just point blank is just like, well, my husband shot himself last week. Like, you want to be?
Yeah, she just rips into her, and I imagine every teacher in the world who has seen this just like would stand up and cheer at that scene, because I have limited experience in the educational system on the other side. I was like a substitute teacher for a few years. My mom was a teacher. Yeah. And so I've seen her deal with a lot of this shit. And yeah, there's some times where there is no satisfying assholes. There's no pleasing angry parents. They don't want to sound like they're arguing for a better grade for no reason.
Right.
But that's what they are doing. But more than that, they want to berate the teacher and have the teacher like just beg and, oh, I'm so sorry. What can I do to make this up? Instead, in this scene, our main character is just like, fine, I'll give him a B. And then she's like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Well, fine, I'll give him an A. And it's a whole deal. But I wanted to ask you about something.
Her name's Beth, played by Rebecca Hall,
who did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies where every once in a while it starts to get a little wonky, but then as soon as they refocus on her, it just goes right back to working.
Yeah.
She really carries this movie. So there was something that I wanted to ask you about. Mm-hmm. Two things, actually. But the first one, I'll go right into the one that you may refuse to answer or tell me to cut. But while we were talking about the movie, or while we were watching the movie, I mentioned something about the personification, the same thing we were talking about earlier, the personification of nothing as an excellent depiction of grief. And you mentioned that it was also an excellent depiction of depression.
Right.
And since we're already going into the deep end, I was wondering if you wanted to expand on that.
I mean, I don't know, like, just like when you have depression, especially like heavy depression, it does feel like a presence there that's just like looming over you that you can't get away from. Yeah. It's just, it very much does just feel like a presence, like an entity. Even to the point when I was like at my worst with depression issues, you're almost kind of afraid to lose it because you don't know how to feel otherwise, because it's just, again, this presence that's always with you. So what are you going to feel like without that presence? So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it is. That's weird. I think I've had much milder experiences with depression.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of them are just actually me or shit that happens.
Well, she even like literally, because like it reminds me too just of how like I said, sometimes it's like you've been living with this presence for so long you don't know how to live without it, that there's a point where she actually embraces the nothingness and is like, don't let me go. And she just wants to sit there holding on to literally nothing.
Yeah, and that's where we get into a lot of the really cool camera tricks.
Yeah,
and all of that. The set design and camera work in this, in my opinion, is fantastic, because there's a lot of instances where you think you see somebody, and it's the old, no, it was just a blanket thing, except this is the opposite, where you think you see somebody, but then the camera moves and you realize it's the architecture of the house or the furniture framing where a person would be, but there isn't actually anything there. It's all negative space.
Yeah. Even at the ending scene at the water, the reflection is in the shape of a guy.
Yeah, it took me a minute to see that the first time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's
very subtle.
It is subtle, and it's clever. It's a weirdly clever movie.
Yeah.
You looked up the song, right?
Yeah. So, well, there's a song that's like played constantly. She gets woken up at night and the radio's on, and it's always the same song, which is the Calvary Cross by, is it Richard Thompson and Linda Thompson? Are they one thing? Yeah. So it's Richard Thompson and Linda Thompson. I couldn't find anything about like if the song is the inspiration for the fucking movie, because Richard Thompson's own explanation of the song is Calvary Cross is about a muse or about anything. It's about a drive that you may not want, but it's there, and you're a slave to it. And so it's very much just explaining, at least from the movie's perspective, the husband and why he's killing people. Also, her being bound to this presence.
Yeah.
And she just needs to figure out if it's her husband and, what's going on.
And not being able to let it go despite everybody telling her to let it go.
Right.
Even though she totally shouldn't let it go.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
My husband built another house and there's women on his phone. Yeah, to me, just being like, oh, let it go.
Yeah.
How?
Super normal. Super normal. That makes you wonder if how much of the movie involves nothing whispering to the other characters too.
Right.
Who would let that go? And who would think that was reasonable to let go?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, again, people are so bad at dealing with everyone else's grief or everyone else's problems that maybe they would.
Yeah.
Maybe and not for her health. Maybe it would just be like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
You should let it go.
Yeah.
People.
What a bunch of bastards.
Yeah. Would you recommend the movie?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very good movie.
Yeah, me too.
I would recommend people who would listen to the song too, if they watch the movie, actually listen to the song, because the song has like a lot of sounds of like dread, and then it has like it feels like hopeful, and then it goes right back down into like feeling about dread. And the chorus is just like, everything I do for you. So it very much encapsulates the feeling and what the movie is about, I would say.
Yeah,
That's why I wonder if like the song inspired it in any way, or did they write this movie, then somebody reheard the song and was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's just what the movie's about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did add it to a couple of my Spotify playlists.
Yeah, even interestingly, the cover of the album it's on is like a fogged mirror and writing on it, which happens in the movie also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
That's sort of the other big theme. Besides absences or negative space, there's also reverse.
Yeah, there's a scene, I think it's so it's a dreamer or whatnot, but her address is in reverse.
Yeah.
Like a mirror image.
And the house, directly across from hers and also in exact reverse.
Yeah.
I also was looking into the statue she finds.
Oh, yeah.
Basically a voodoo doll. I found this interesting. It's specifically a love spell, like to make somebody fall in love with you. That would have been part of the husband's plan to lure,
confuse him,
to get the women.
No, because he has them go to the house and then he has them hold it. So I would think it would be maybe to make them love him so that even more so that nothing will think it's his wife.
Also, the nothing does contort her into that same position too at one point.
Yeah, I noticed.
I wonder if we get in trouble just inserting the song in here.
Yes, would.
I know. As a musician, I do actually know that.
Yeah.
But
well, that's what I was saying. We need to look into the rules about clips, sound clips and stuff.
Are there any screams in either of these movies? Because we were talking about doing the intro and having like a scream from one of the movies.
In Fabric, she screams when the dress gets dropped on her face.
Oh, right.
She freaks out. Okay. And in this movie, I'm pretty sure she gets startled a bunch. So she's...
Yeah, I don't think she ever screams. She yells a lot, but I don't think she ever just like... Wah! That should be the scream that we use in the intro.
Thank you for listening to Streaming Screams Podcast. You can follow us at our socials at Streaming Screams Pod for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and SoundCloud.
You can also follow us on TikTok or on the dreaded Twitter/X at ScreamsPod. Thank you again for listening. We hope you're enjoying yourselves. Jessica, are you enjoying yourself?
Absolutely.
All right then, on to the next part of the show.
Since I went through the summary of The Night House, would you like to go through the summary of In Fabric?
All right. So, In Fabric is a 2018 movie by Peter Strickland that is currently streaming on Showtime. It is an A24 horror movie, which I feel like it's one of the lesser known as far as A24 goes. It is about a woman named Sheila. She's recently divorced and treated awfully by every single person she comes into contact with in her life.
Seriously.
She's praised at work for her work, but then nitpicked about like the stupidest things, and she just wants to feel good about her life, so she goes on a date. But you know what? She needs a dress to look nice. So she goes to this winter sale at a London department store, and she has this creepy woman try to sell her a red dress that is listed as artery red.
I love the creepy woman.
Yeah, but she talks in poetry about garments confidence in how a dress makes you feel. And so Sheila buys this dress, and then weirdness starts to happen.
Good summary. Good summary. That movie was weird.
It was weird.
and fun fact for our millions and millions of fans. We weren't going to do this first episode with The Night House. We watched this movie and we watched Lamb. And we'll get to Lamb at another episode, but we were like, these are both just weird as fuck.
Yeah.
And it's debatable whether Lamb is even a horror movie. So we decided to have a second watching session and do The Night House. Yeah.
This is definitely a horror movie, though. So this guy, Peter Strickland, apparently makes a lot of weird movies. I haven't seen anything else he's done.
What else has he done?
A movie called Berberian Sound Studio and The Duke of Burgundy. And the creepy lady apparently is like an actress he uses a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's known for weird movies.
This one is definitely weird.
Yeah. It's weird because also, like, it's visually styled after a giallo movie, but I wouldn't call it one.
Is it giallo or is it giallo?
Don't even know the difference of what you just said.
The E sound was a little more pronounced than the second one, but I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't know. I'm not Italian.
I guess our millions of fans can get mad at us about that too. Yeah. It's like a classic horror movie genre, and I think I pronounce it a little bit differently, like every time I say it.
Yeah.
Giallo.
Yeah, whatever.
Giallo.
But it's stylistically like that, but I wouldn't really consider it one of those. The little I read about it is that apparently it's supposed to be a commentary on, like, not just consumerism, but like fashion and how we relate to clothes and the eeriness of buying secondhand clothes. Because in this movie, it is mentioned that the dress was only worn once before by the model, who died shortly after. The model in the catalog.
I seem to remember thinking that I don't know if not the model in the catalog, but the model in the catalog, but not the one wearing that dress, but one on the opposite page, I think was the older woman that the son was banging.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
That's one of those things where, like, I'm not quite good enough with faces, and it's close enough one way or the other.
Yeah. Because literally in this movie, this woman is super sweet and nice. She has a son at home that doesn't give a shit about her, who is dating this older woman who is just mean, like, all the time. But, like, yeah, even people, like, on the street, when she's walking down the street and she waves, like, people, like, are just mean to her.
Yeah, so man. Weird. It is. This is one of those people that, like, if I found myself, somehow sitting on a bench in front of the library next to her, we'd probably chat.
Yeah.
Because she's like pretty nice and friendly and considerate and all that. And yeah, everyone just treats her like
so mean.
Dirt.
Yeah.
And that makes it all the worse. All right, I guess it's spoiler time. Because she doesn't survive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn, man. This chick never got a break.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's not even the end of the movie. And then it keeps going. Because I figured she was going to be the main protagonist through the whole thing. So this movie totally was different than I thought it was going to be when seeing the previews. I thought it was literally going to be a dress that once she got it, she impulsively needs to wear it for some reason. And then it's eating her because, like, they show that, like, she gets the rash when you wear it. So I thought the dress was literally going to be, like, eating her alive. But either she couldn't take it off or for some reason she's just compelled to continue to wear it. But no,
it's a fucking. The dress is a fucking villain from a giallo movie.
Yeah, the dress floats around.
Yeah,
which there's weird moments, but it's not a comedy really. It's listed as a dark comedy, but it's not really. It's just that there's ridiculous moments.
I think it is a comedy, but I think it's like really couched in that dry as shit British humor. I think there's a lot of humor in it that we flat out don't get. Because I noticed a lot of things that I when I was watching it, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to make me laugh. But because
it is very British.
But because I'm American and it's not like a dick joke, we're just such uncultured swine here.
I don't know. I just feel like it's too weird. You're half the time just being like, what is going on and what is wrong with all these people?
Yeah. And to be clear, millions and millions of fans, our streaming screamers.
Yeah.
We do not shy away from weird movies. I love weird movies.
Yeah.
Jessica loves weird movies. So when you hear us talking about like, oh, it's just so weird, don't take that as a criticism. It just means that some of the things are hard to discuss.
Yeah.
Because, like, what the fuck was going on?
Yeah, like, there's a point where they're, like, having the saleswomen. It's not explicitly said, but it's pretty obviously a coven that run this department store.
Clearly a coven of witches.
Yeah, but a dude also leads the old guy, I think, is in charge. But there's a whole scene where, like, one of the women sits on the face of a mannequin, and then they're stroking this mannequin all over until its vagina bleeds.
Yes, which the fact that the mannequin has a vagina to bleed is already suspect.
Well, I also, while watching this, thought that, like, at some point it was going to be revealed that the mannequins are the victims of these witches.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was true.
I
even
feel
though they
like
didn't
it's implied, but they don't show it.
Yeah.
Because also in the end, she like is really like obsessed with taking that one mannequin down like with her when the store's burning down.
There's also some really...
I think it gets more, also I was going to say more comedy-ish after Sheila dies, and it goes to, what was his name? Repairman, Babs, and...
I did not find that segment funny at all, because that was even sadder.
I know, but I didn't think it was... It's just funny because he's so awkward, and then it was like, he has an encyclopedic knowledge on how to fix washing machines to where like people are like getting tranced orgasms almost.
Yeah, so one thing...
And it's like, what is this?
One thing that I noticed on my second watch through, even though I kind of quit partway through, actually I think it was more than halfway through because I did get to his segment.
Yeah.
So much stuff in this movie that we consider normal is very ritualized. In this. And a big part of that is when he starts talking about washing machine repair, everybody is entranced and, yes, orgasmically entranced.
The bankmen are like rolling their eyes into the back of their heads, and I think they're like holding hands.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's just like, what is happening?
And it's, but a lot of stuff is kind of like that too. Like the way in which the saleswoman, who I think is supposed to be like second in charge of the coven.
Yeah.
Which actually, that makes me wonder if the man isn't just supposed to be straight up the devil.
Oh, maybe.
I think that would make sense because everything else kind of lines up really well with the traditional witches' coven.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that there's a man heading it up.
Before we totally move on from the Sheila thing, I also wanted to bring up, I don't know if this, like, is just a British thing, but Sheila is mostly represented by her phone number. Like, when she answers the phone, she lists her phone number off. And then the saleswoman makes her list her phone number. And she's constantly, it's also kind of trance, like, she's constantly being told to repeat her phone number.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's her identity. It's almost like a prison number. Like, this is who you are, not your name.
Yeah.
And I found that interesting. And I'm like, it feels like it's supposed to mean something, and I don't know what.
Yeah, maybe some of the British subset of our millions and millions of streaming screamers can enlighten us. So if you're British,
do you answer the phone with your phone number?
Yeah.
Or was that ever a thing? Because I think this movie takes place in the 80s.
I think so. Because I know they've got landlines, and I don't. Do we ever see a cell phone used in that movie? Yeah.
Definitely not.
And I think they have the big old CRT televisions.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be somewhere in that changeover, like the late 70s, early 80s, because it has a lot of those commercials.
Set in 1982.
1982, because it has a lot of those commercials that have
it says it's in the classifieds.
What?
There's a point where they show a newspaper and it has a date on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is like the commercial for the department sale is hella ominous and weird, but it really reminded me of the Silver Shamrock commercial.
A little bit. It had like that
because it has like the repetitive like music, and then it's clearly trying to hypnotize you into going to the sale.
Yeah, and also like every letter. It's like spelling out sale or something, but every letter keeps getting rewritten over and over in like in a circle. So each letter comes out very sigil-like,
right?
Until it gets to the end of I can't remember if it was the department store's name or just the word sale or whatever.
Yeah.
But once it gets to the end there, you get to see all of the text and you hear the talking about the sale. But until then, it really comes off like sigils being written on the screen, which also there was magic being used in enticing people to the department store. And you could see that in the staff performing this ritualistic waving of their hands together, like, come to our store.
So weird.
You know, buy our wares.
Also,
you need a dress.
So this dress becomes, like, after Sheila dies, comes into the Reggie's possession, and then Babs ends up wearing it. What is the significance of, because she goes to the department store to get a dress herself, but she's wearing the red dress, and the clerk is, like, very upset about it. And at first tells her to, like, get out of the store until she changes. Like, why is she so angry about that? Because she wanted this woman to Sheila desperately to have that dress. She was just, like,
maybe
totally
that's why.
Yeah, but they have to know she's dead. And wasn't that the point? Wasn't that what they wanted?
I think so. But yeah, so how did it come into the stag parties?
It was on the side of the road, and one of the guys just picked it up.
Okay.
Because they also set her up to get in the car accident. Because the whole reason she got in the car accident was because that mannequin was on the side of the road.
Right. Maybe they were supposed to retrieve the dress, or the dress was supposed to return to them, but it got picked up by this dude who is going to go torture or I guess it was his son-in-law at this stag party.
I thought there were people that worked with him.
Well, I know one of them was his future father-in-law, the guy who was doing a lot of the talking and being an asshole.
Yeah.
They make this dude wear this dress and degrade degrade him in a very chauvinistic way too. There's definitely some stuff to be said about gender roles in here.
Yeah.
Maybe either he was just supposed to have the dress, or maybe the dress was supposed to be back at the department store, and the stag party fucked up that plan.
Yeah.
The witch was like, our spell's not going the way it was supposed to. You know, which happens with spells sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you're trying to curse one family and you accidentally,
Well, the store did get burnt down, and
sometimes you burn down your own store.
Yeah, with
sometimes you're trying to bring souls to the Dark Lord and you get stuck in the laundry chute thing that you, for some reason, what are those things called? Those, like, elevator things where you...
A dumbwaiter.
Dumbwaiter, yeah. Sometimes you get stuck in the dumbwaiter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is... It's just interesting because everybody who gets killed by this dress is below the department store using their blood to sew a new dress. And then they show a bunch of empty sewing machines, too. So which means they do want this dress to kill more people.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So maybe there's something to be said about, slave labor in the fashion industry there too.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It kind of feels like a different approach to a lot of the same ideas as the Neon Demon.
Oh, I've heard people actually
make that comparison.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one, because we should do an episode of the Neon Demon. I fucking love that movie.
I hate that movie.
How do you hate that movie? The movie's so good.
It's beautiful. Otherwise, there's nothing. It just looks nice.
Yeah. That's the fashion industry, man. It's beautiful and there's fucking nothing. It just looks nice. Like, you summed it up. That's the point. But yeah, no, like, it takes, like, this old stylized approach to, like, giallo cult movies, specifically movies done in that time period that revolve around cults, and applies it to the fashion industry. Just seems like a more British approach to that, than Willem Wending Refn and his high art approach. I love that guy. I don't know if I like that guy, but I love his work.
I don't know what else he's done other than Drive.
So he did Valhalla Rising, which was about Vikings showing up to America and going fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. He did another movie with my man crush.
Also, The Vikings never made it. Well, they did, but Iceland is as far as they went.
I think
Which I just recently found out Iceland is part of North America.
Oh, really? You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, it's part of North America, but it's like close enough to Scandinavia that it has all that influence. So I don't know if it's supposed to be them in America, or just the Americas.
Oh, okay.
But it's them in this new world.
Oh.
And then they go crazy.
Cool.
And get hunted down by indigenous folk. It's been a long time since I've watched it, so I don't remember a lot of the details.
That's fine.
But then he also did a movie called Only God Forgives, which also features my man crush Ryan Gosling. Ryan, if you ever hear this, I love you. No, I fucking love Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
That guy's great. Oh, I got that record that he did on vinyl.
Oh,
Just
yeah?
gonna brag about that for a second. For our millions of streaming screamers who don't know, Ryan Gosling released a record with this other dude and a children's choir under the name Dead Man's Bones. It's very weird and creepy, but also sort of like whimsical. It's a good record. You should check it out. And you'll be like, what? This is Ryan and then you'll hear him singing. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's totally Ryan Gosling. It's good shit. One of the things I thought was really weird about this movie was that it had that structure of an anthology movie in that there was one story and then another story and kind of another story.
No, it's just the two.
Well, because the dude's what was his
Babs.
Babs was kind of a separate story.
I guess.
Because he was dead by the time she got the dress and became the protagonist, right?
No.
Oh, when did he die? Did he die?
He died, I think, while she was at the store. I don't.
All right, next time we do this, we're going to watch the movies twice. Or at least we should both make sure to watch them a separate time.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily together. I tried to do this last night, but like I said, I failed with this movie. This is what I get for saving it until after a thing that involves me drinking all day.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry to let our millions of streaming screamers down.
I'm not going to make that joke every time, are you?
Yes.
Every episode.
Every episode. I'm gonna shoehorn it in where it really doesn't belong, just to make sure it happens once. Good times.
Yeah.
So, would you recommend this movie?
It depends on the person. I would say to most people, probably not. But for people who like more artsier, slower, not direct horror, sure. But
Yeah.
I think it's one that I would have to know your taste before I could just recommend it, because I don't think the average just movie viewer is probably going to have the patience for it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when I was thinking about that earlier. I was just like, would I recommend this to anybody? Only the snobbiest of weird horror lovers.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know if snobby is the right word, because this is one of those things that I could totally see it showing up on like The Last Drive-In.
Sure.
With Joe Bob Briggs. Everybody should watch that show.
Yep.
Is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to say an outro or anything.
I think we can basically leave it on that awkward note, and then I'll just like cut it randomly.